Here.
Counselor Ross?
Here.
Deputy Warden Ross?
Here.
Executive Assistant Taylor Robinson? Here. CAO Tyler Foley? And is your name changed yet? Director of Finance, Coralie Ross. Myself, Linda Gregory Warden. On saying that, I'd like us all to pause to seek guidance. Okay, the next is approval of the agenda. Is there any additions or deletions anyone would like to make?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Seconded.
I think we need to add the wage check letter.
Well, I was going to put that under my wage check report, under the committee reports.
Okay.
That's where I thought it would be the best. Okay. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. The next, we have some presentations, delegations. Ketra Hoven. That's your last name properly? Thank you. For the Pad, would you like to come forward, please? And could I have someone?
Yeah, I motion to approve the presentation of Katya Kovalenko.
And seconder? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. Would you just press your button there so that
So I can speak? Yep. Perfect. And Taylor, you'll be switching the slides?
Actually, it could be Coralie right over there, the stripes letter.
Oh, Coralie, okay, perfect. So I'll just give you a quick moment. So I'm here today on behalf of HappyPad. HappyPad is a nonprofit organization that helps people find affordable midterm rentals all over Canada. The first slide was basically stats show that over 130,000 bedrooms sit empty each night across Nova Scotia, and we encourage people to transform empty space into meaningful place, and basically contribute to the housing problems that everybody's having. So HappyPad primarily functions as a website and a resource for both tenants and hosts who are looking to not just rent, but also have a good experience doing it. From the host perspective, a lot of people encounter situations where they don't really feel like advertising their a bedroom in their house to rent out, even though they wouldn't mind doing it, but they're scared that something's going to go wrong, that the tenant is not going to be suitable for them, and they're going to regret about it. It's going to turn into a bad experience. What HappyPad does, it kind of functions a little bit like a dating website, except it's for to match hosts and tenants, and also meet the requirement of making it, going into a category of affordable housing. Midterm rental, you can proceed with the slide, sorry. So one of our partners, I should highlight right away, is Home Share program, which gives us an example of Deanne here, who's a retired teacher, a widow, so she lives alone in a 4-bedroom home and looking for some extra income to supplement her retirement, and also maybe some help with errands, doing some chores around the house, etc. So then she connected with, through HappyPad, she connected with some newcomers and young adults. So she helped them adapt and learn adapt to life and learn about basic skills that help you take off when you're in your early 20s. And at the same time, they contributed her probably by shoveling snow here and there and doing some chores, and thus getting affordable rental rate. By midterm rental, here's a good illustration. It shows exactly how it works. So Airbnb would be short-term rental. Airbnbs are proven not to be not very affordable, but that's fine. We can have, and now midterm rental in the category has to be at least 2 months rent, or at least a month for sure, like over that. And it could go into long-term rental, but it has that minimal of at least 1 month. So it's perfect. Usually this category of people are the contractors who come here, working professionals, a lot of medical professionals in Nova Scotia, especially in our area, are looking for that, like about 1 year rental period. And this is my current statistics in Digby. Where I'm giving each municipality my stats, and I've been working with Happy Pad, recruiting tenants and hosts for just over a month, so it's new. But my stats show that in Digby, we have newcomers who are primarily in the medical field. So, and TCAs, so working with the elderly and in the hospital, who are looking for not just affordable, but also comfortable rental space. And they're struggling. And I have definitely higher demand in rental than I have the supply. So it's a lot higher already. Like I have a full list of tenants, but not enough hosts. So yeah, Happy Pet makes it about people. So there's a questionnaire that I get tenants and hosts to fill out, which the questions include their budget, so that the tenants get matched only with the people in their price range. Also, they both get to fill out like stuff like a host can say, I'm willing to reduce the rent if you walk my dog, go pick up my mail, things like that. And tenants write the same thing. I'm quiet, I don't smoke, I have allergies, I don't have allergies. So all that stuff is impossible to achieve with just using Facebook and newspaper ads. And up here, it's set up pretty good. So our demographics are students, refugees, workforce, like I said, working professionals, and seniors. Seniors primarily as hosts, because they would be the ones that would want extra income but would be fussy about who they're renting out to. Regarding refugees, so far, all the newcomers that I have on my list are already employed, like full time. So they have income, they're just looking to save money so they can save up for that down payment to buy a house or whatever other reasons they have to save. Yeah, so mature homeowners waiting to monetize the extra space, from single mothers to seniors and everybody in between. So it makes it very personal. And that's just typical age distribution, just a good illustration you can refer to later. But it shows that the renters are a little younger. It's easy to use. So how it functions, you cannot just match on the website. You can literally, with Happy Pet, after you match, the host can request a background check, which is perfect, especially when you rent out the house with multiple roommates. And I had scary stories about girls getting into uncomfortable situations with the roommates because of this issue, because the landlord doesn't do background checks, takes off to Europe, and they all just roam there without any kind of guidance. Happy Pad checks in with the tenants to see how they're making out, checks in with the host. They do the background check. They also take care of the contracting. So it's like it's all documented legally with the help of Happy Pad. The host can also collect rent with Happy Pad. Right now, the province of Nova Scotia partnered with Happy Pet and is waiving all the fees. However, in other provinces, I hear nobody really minds the fees. It would be applied, they asked the host to apply an 8% surcharge for the service, for dealing with HappyPad and doing the rental transactions, so collecting rent through HappyPad, doing all those documents, etc., contracting. But in Nova Scotia right now, the fees are waived. So far, the information that I've been given, it is effective until next month, and then the province will let us know whether they would like to continue or they would have to switch to what other provinces are doing, just applying that 8% on top of the rent. And you guys can check out, like, all the details are on the website. There's a lot of details on the website, but I'm just doing a quick overview. Yeah, so we're trying to, so we're a nonprofit organization. Primarily, we focus on trying to solve these complicated problems that people have when they rent or rent out their space, and also making it a friendly and clean experience. So I'm just giving my information there. If anybody can help me and assist me with connecting me with potential hosts, I'd really appreciate it. I have calls from tenants every day, so I don't have problems collecting up the people who are looking. However, I do have right now. I struggle with finding hosts. They don't reach out to me as easy as tenants, and that might be because we're primarily looking to connect with the seniors, and I will be doing that. Just like I said, I'm just doing one step at a time. So we'll be attending Legion events and connecting with the senior safety coordinators in each municipality for this support. However, I know that a lot of counselors even directly deal with some refugees and help people find rental space. They could also refer their hosts directly to me, and then I will assist them with the application and registering with HappyPad.
Okay, so you do.
Yeah. So that's my primary issue, is just to connect, get them on the platform, so that they get the email and then they proceed by themselves.
That's the biggest hurdle I'd see with seniors is this is all
Yeah.
electronic and they just.
Exactly. And I have a lot of experience. I work at Front Desk Service Canada as a casual, so I've been I've taught seniors and even young people. Surprised how many young people are also actually just voluntarily against technology, just for philosophical reasons, which I totally understand.
Mm-hmm.
However, there is the benefit of technology, and especially in this case, it just makes it so, like, such a righteous process. Yeah.
I can tell you this has been done in Nova Scotia before. I know up at the Valley, they were working with people so that as a youth, maybe going into university or getting a job with the elderly, so that they could have help too in their homes.
Yep, yeah, and we also partner. So if you know any developers who are in the process of proposals, etc., they can also partner and find support with HappyPad for the future, after they develop everything, for future placements of tenants, etc. So yeah, it's a great cause, and I think we're much needed. It's proven successful even in Halifax right now. There's so many listings in HRM, and that's why they kind of recruited me here. It's almost like a paid volunteer job, but I just feel very passionate about the cause, and I think it can make a difference because it's making a difference everywhere else. They started off in BC just because the situation there was a lot more critical than here or anywhere else. And right now, provinces and major cities are, HappyPad is very popular there, and I'd like to achieve the same in our Southwest Nova Scotia as well.
How often do they have a problem? but people just don't get along.
Right now, the biggest problem is there's shortage of supply, so there's shortage of hosts, and there's a lot of people looking for rental, and they're all employed, they're all professionals. They just want a better choice. A lot are very flexible, single people who are interested in home share, and some I have like university professor from St. Anne as a couple. They're just looking for a better apartment, and they're struggling looking for something, and they're not really interested in a mortgage because they're under contract. I mean, they might be down the road if they decide to stay here, but currently they're looking just for a nice rental.
How does the screening happen?
The screening? Well, basically anybody can apply because we might have a host for any tenant. So even if a tenant is a smoker and has 3 cats with them, there might be a host who doesn't mind smokers, musicians, loud noise. They might be actually looking for that, right? So the screening happens. Everybody fills out a questionnaire. Or you mean screening for hosts?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So that might be how the process is done. I can get back to you. I'll just clarify that with my management, like exactly, because I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to give you any false information.
Just I know in today's world that's always a concern in terms of what you're going into and getting into.
Yeah, so I know you can like I know from there they do background checks, but like the whole process of what exactly what is their how technically what they use and how they do it is done online, because I know like even criminal record checks can be done online now. So I'll get back to you. That's a good question. I'll be happy to write back or connect you with that person.
Anyone else have questions or comments?
Yeah.
Peter?
So how does Happy fit into the regulatory category for rentals? Is it so? It's medium term, right? But I don't think that bylaws and regulations for rental properties have that category, or maybe they do. But is this considered short-term rental or long-term rental?
Midterm?
Yeah.
Midterm is anything but short term. So they're definitely over 1 month. So the short term is Airbnb, right?
Yeah.
So we are minimum 1 month.
Right.
So
the person offering the hosts, they do not pay the taxes that an Airbnb.
Okay, with taxes, actually, Happy Pad has everything, and even there are tax benefits for hosts. So that's a good question too. And however, that question again, I could get back to with all the details, and especially about the tax benefits, because my manager mentioned that as one of the privileges. However, exactly what I can get back to you.
Right. Yeah, I'm just curious because that's probably one of the drivers for
legally everything is set up, because even contracts are generated, and regarding taxes, they also assist the hosts with the write-offs. Even I believe they assist hosts with writing off renovations that they do for their rental space.
Matthew?
What is Happy Pads? How do they resolve conflict if you do have a match that really didn't work together, and in a couple of months it just isn't working? You know, person they're living together. It's not like a rental. You gotta live with the person. You just don't have that fit. If the person who owns the house says, "I do not want the 3rd month's rent, you have to leave," is that how it works, or do you have to give notice? Is it like rental boards where they say you gotta give 6 months notice? Or
I know Happy Pad definitely assists both sides with that. Exactly what happens in your scenario, I would also have to check and get back to you. Like I said, these are very good and specific examples. But again, I don't want to just throw something out there.
that's fair.
I would want to check with the management before I just throw out this information. However, they do. I know for sure they get support, and the check-ins are done on regular basis. So
because you got those two people living actually together. It's not like renter and landlord where
exactly
they're not seeing each other all day long. It's got conflict with
and
whatever.
this is why they do early check-ins to see so that it doesn't get to that point where it's bad. However, if that does happen for this specific scenario, I would have to check exactly what kind of support they provide. Like, I'm not sure if they, if they pay for your boy or anything like that, because it can get bad. It depends on the category. So exactly what their support is regarding this, I'll check, especially since there is contracting involved.
George, did you have any questions? Anyone else have any questions or comments?
Questions from the floor?
That's not the norm,
I'm not Norm.
but I will make an exception right now.
So I think to follow up with the comments, the Residential Tenancies Act, does that apply? Like that type of arrangement? I don't know. It's a question about in the back of my mind.
Legally, like, I'm sure that legal matters that Happy Bad probably does their best with codes and regulations, of course, especially since they partner with the province. They have an official partnership with the province, so I'm pretty sure that is all taken into consideration. But like I said, regarding like full information, even like I said, even about the partnership, that is only valid in May, and they asked me not to get into the details, especially right now, just because there's a lot of things that are just up in the air right now with the upcoming election and everything, even with the federal government programs, I believe, regarding funding and the budgets, there's a lot of stalls, so I wouldn't be just throwing out answers. I would much rather get the right answer emailed to everyone.
If you email everything to Taylor,
Taylor,
she will send it off.
Yeah, since you help me out with the minutes and those questions, I would be happy to forward them to the management, and it would be their job to answer like specifics.
Oh, that's very good.
Okay.
And I'd love to do that. It'd be my pleasure to do that.
Well, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I wish every success. And once we get some of these answers, then maybe we can be talking to some people that we know that
and just spreading the word. And yes, feel free. Like, they have excellent support, but like for these questions, I wouldn't be contacting the support line. I would actually connect you directly with the provincial head, the provincial director, and town manager. They'll do a really good job answering your questions.
So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And you're welcome to stay and listen to the rest of our meeting if you so desire.
Sure, yes, I will definitely.
You can heckle me.
Oh, I don't mind. My position is very like here, like I said, I'm a volunteer. I just need to like present but collect the questions. I'd rather get the managers to answer.
Okay. So could we have a presentation from Ed Chisholm, Digby Harbor Port Association?
I motion to allow Ed Chisholm to present with the Digby Harbor Port Association.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. I enjoyed your presentation. I've thought for a while, like decades ago, I'm not that old, but things like boarding houses used to be fairly common. You don't see much anymore, and that's somewhat I see as a parallel. But that's not my presentation. Can you hear me? Yep. Warden Gregory, councillors, guests, certainly would like to thank you for the opportunity to do a presentation to council. Municipalities, both town and municipal unit, have been a very important part of the Digby Harbor Port Association since inception, really. And we have 12 directors on the board I answer to. There's only 2 positions that are reserved, dedicated specifically to groups, and that is representative from the municipality and from the town. So maybe an example of how important that is. Next slide, please. And if you hit the space bar, it'll play. So the Port of Digby is the largest port on the Bay of Fundy, Nova Scotia side, serving communities in Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. We have 7 Indigenous communities fishing annually in the Port of Digby. Our monthly berthage ranges from 86 to a high of 138 vessels throughout the year. And we are an ideal location. A wet port, meaning our Port of Digby is the last port as you head up the Bay of Fundy that has water at low tide. The further up you go, they're higher and drier for longer parts of the day. We have room for expansion. So those 2 components in particular make us an ideal location. Enter to the next slide. There we go. My presentation today, I'd like to give you a bit of a backgrounder because some of the councillors are certainly new. I think I was here 6 or 7 years ago. So I'd like to bring you a touch of history and some of our experiences. Concentrating a fair bit today on 2023, we're doing some work addressing the deteriorating concrete piles under the wharf and some subsequent repairs. A sea level rise report that we had engaged in the results of that and has evolved into our harbor concept, followed by the closing. The Port of Digby was a Transport Canada facility because of the ferry service up until 1971. It has never been a DFO or small craft harbors port. It was divested in 1998 from the federal government, Transport Canada, and it was divested to a group called the Maritime Harbour Society, a group from primarily the South Shore that had designs to gather up a number of ports and become an entity to run these around the province. They figured they saw this coming. The local reaction after a few years was not positive to the new owners, the Harbour Society, and in 2002 the Digby Harbor Port Association was formed, and over the next 5 or so years put together alliances and plans and had to actually purchase the wharf from the Maritime Harbour Society. One of the first things they had to do was an assessment of the condition of and plan for revitalization of the wharf. One of the first things, they had removed the pier and the terminal for the ferry that used to come in, and that was causing us a lot of damage. Those storms from the northeast, tens and tens of thousands of dollars annually. So one of the first things we had to do was deal with a lot of new piles, a lot of repair to the roll chocks, etc., to make it habitable and safe. I forget what. Maybe it's a backspace for a couple times and get me back on a few pictures. Next, previous, and maybe there, and a sunken vessel that was at the wharf at the time. So one of the first things we had to do was to raise that. If you hit spacebar, there we go. So stabilization and improvements, a list of items that were have been done over the number of years. The first things were some of the immediate issues. We did some repair of piles at that time. Built an office to work out of, floating docks and ramps to give better access to the fishermen, and the breakwater that was installed, you may have noticed, on the easterly side of the wharf, and that took the place of the old ferry terminal, and again protecting us and giving longevity to our infrastructure. A little bit on the economic impact. We had a study, business plan done and the ones that did the economic study was out of Montreal, CPCS, and they estimated 720 jobs working in and around the fisheries at the wharf. And we've done some calculations as of last year, about $110 million in landings. Now, I'm not saying we earned $110 million by a long shot, but we are a very important part of the infrastructure that makes that happen. In 2023, the Nova Scotia Government Department of Fisheries and Aquaculture asked us if we wanted to be involved in the sea level rise mitigation report, and as part of that, it had some evaluation on the infrastructure. The projected sea level rise over the next 50 years is 1.1 meters, and that was very interesting, and we had to look at what we could do to mediate that. But it identified as well some deterioration in the wharf itself. The 1970 portions are certainly the oldest, and they're the ones that are suffering the worst. There's an example of one of the piles, and if you, at the very bottom of that particular concrete pile by the ladder, you might be able to see some welded wire mesh that was done of a previous repair that was not successful. So that pile had been repaired and still has deteriorated again. So those piles, when they were built in the 70s, it was fairly new technology, and they were only 18 inches square, and there was only 2 inches of cover concrete on the outside of the metal rebar. Well, now they build a more robust and more concrete cover, because as soon as that rebar starts to rust, it expands. When it expands, it puts the concrete under tension, and concrete is not strong under tension, and that concrete falls off. So that's what we're trying to deal with, a lot of those older piles. And the method for dealing with those is the previous picture was we're putting steel cages in most cases around the deteriorated pile, 6 inches of concrete all the way around it, and then a fiberglass form strapped in place. When the tide rises, they go down underwater and they pump the concrete in, start at the bottom, and they push the concrete up, so it pushes the water out on the way up. Also, because it's underwater, it lightens the load, because if you do it when it's dry, it's tons per every few feet is a number of tons. So by pumping it in while it's full of water and pushing that water out, you balance off or alleviate a lot of that extra weight. So that's the project we're underway now. Huntley Diving and Marine is doing the work for us. They will finish up the remainder 18 or so piles by hopefully May this year to complete that contract. There will still be more that we have to do. So we're trying to stabilize it, trying to give it longevity. But we've certainly recognized some issues. Part of that sea level rise mitigation report as well is they proposed a couple solutions. So they proposed a sheet pile replacement of the marginal wharf. Marginal wharf is the one that goes along the edge of the land. And the spur wharf comes off the land at a perpendicular angle out into the water. So that marginal and that first half of our spur wharf was the old portion. And because of its deterioration, that sea level rise report recommended replacement. It's reached its life. It's got to the stage where replacement is quite urgent. The remainder of the wharf, built in 80, is still in pretty good shape. It was more robust piles. It's newer construction. It had some life left in it. So they gave us two options. Replace the old and then turn the new section onto the newest wharf, raise it a meter, 3 feet, and leave it as is, or just replace the whole thing. Well, we took that recommendation and we looked at the business plan we'd done in 2018 and said, well, and the fact that whatever construction happens, we still have to operate. So it has to be functioning all the time while you're doing this process. So we amalgamated all these ideas and we come up with the harbor concept that you see in front of you. In the middle of your screen in aqua or light blue, for those of us that only know 3 colors, is phase 1. And phase 1 is replacing of the marginal wharf, sheet piling, and also a little bit of sheet piling along parallel to the old wharf and a whole area there, increasing the laydown footprint, giving us more room to offload product right next to the wharf instead of having to go out on the end of a wharf and in a bottleneck. But that allows us, with that offset, that placement, the ability, to continue working while phase 1 is done. The replacement, I'll just jump to phase 3, is the dark blue, the wharf that continues out to the, like I said, southerly and then turns to the west, would be proposed at phase 3. But in order to put that in, that's right in the middle of the channel. So there has to be a dredge project. Got to dredge before you build. So phase 2 turns out to be dredging to increase the channel there to allow access. It would also dredge the marina at the same time, and a small amount of dredging that has to happen on the inside of the wharf. That dredge material gets put over in the yellow, phase 2 block over there being an infill cell. The cell is rock and fabric cloth as a retainer, and it's pumped in there, settles down, and after a few years it becomes a usable space. Then phase 3 happens, and a new wharf is built out to the southerly, off to the westerly, and the old wharf is removed. It allows us to put a couple more floating docks as they tear that out. They'll extend a few floating docks there over top of where you see the existing wharf, so we'll get a little bit more usable space for docking boats, but not a lot. But we will have an infrastructure that will have another 60, 70 years, 80 years on it. I don't know what that looks like as far as optimistically on phases happening, but phase 1 has to happen fairly soon just to make it safe and give us a foundation to keep working. Phase 1 is $29+ million estimated at the Class C level engineering report. One of my purposes today is to come to let you know we're approaching the Sustainable Communities Challenge Fund. It's a Nova Scotia program administered by the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities, and they will cost share some things that meet their criteria. We've done an expression of interest. They've accepted that expression of interest. Now we go for the real application, and that will be due by April 22nd. What I will, as I repeat, when I wrap up, is I'll hopefully ask the municipality to give us a letter of support. It's one of the things that they've identified as part of the criteria that is good for your application. What will we be applying to them for is to do some of the preliminary work. The environmental assessment, the phase 1 geotechnical, which is basically a lot of the core drilling to find out what layers of your subsoil is, and it has a lot to do with the engineering aspect, and the phase 1 engineering. Those 3 components combined is estimated to cost $1.2 million. So we'll be working our way and making our application and hoping for success in that project. In closing, I guess I'd say certainly the Port of Digby is part of the fabric identification, an icon in the community. We, as part of our outreach, we try to be involved in the community. We're involved in all 3 festivals. We've certainly been involved with trying to attract cruise ships. Next space bar on the next slide. So we've had a few cruise ships historically dabbled in that the realm, been very receptive. That's a picture of the Hebridean Sky. I think that was 2018 or so. We had that and a few other vessels in. We were also very much involved in the Rendezvous. What's the name of that? Rendezvous? My notes. 2017, the tall ship event. 8 or 9 tall ships came in for 2 days. I think in excess of somewhere 15,000 people came down. A lot of volunteers made it happen, but part of, I think, what we see is giving back and being part of the community. And to recap, a critical part of infrastructure for the economic engine in the area, that $110 million in landings. Those are the 3 primary resources. There's a few supplementary, but lobster, scallops, and salmon. Multi-millions additionally in the secondary or tertiary economic spin-offs, the supply, repairs to the boats, wages, and so on that spins off and even multiplies that number greater. And as mentioned earlier, estimation of 720 jobs in the area. So hopefully something that we can all be proud of. And again, I'll just, good point to wrap the whole thing up is, again, I'll ask if the municipality would be generous enough to supply a letter of support in our application to Sustainable Communities Challenge Fund. Thank you for your attention, and again, thank you for your participation and involvement with the port in the past.
And that has
Do we have
to,
questions or comments? Okay.
that letter of support has to be in by April 22nd.
Correct. If
Okay.
I could receive that, I'll make that part of our package.
Anybody else? Comments or questions?
I just have a question out of curiosity here. So you mentioned that most of the activity in the port now is fishing boats, and then you alluded to some cruise ships and some other things that you're trying to attract here. Do you see any other activities in the horizon beyond those two, beyond fishing, or maybe even increasing the tourism activity in the port?
Yeah, we would certainly welcome an increase in cruise traffic. Currently, the depths along the southerly face of the NL is 4 meters one end, 6 meters the other. So that's quite shallow for vessels of much size. The one that we saw in the picture, the Hebridean Sky, something of that nature, which is typically 120 passengers, 200 people, those can come alongside. Anything bigger than that currently would have to anchor off where the water's deeper, halfway between the Pines and the ferry terminal. I'm surprised to learn that tendering, the process of people bringing people to shore via small vessels, is an accepted methodology. That distance is a little further than they like to travel with their tendering just because of the turnaround times. But those are certainly the humps we have to deal with to attract more crews. Mike Bartlett in the town, Mike Bartlett in particular with the town is very enthusiastic on crews, and we've sat on committees. I see my job in that as the logistics and the security and stuff that's required by Transport Canada to make that happen. It would require some additional participation of somebody that could handle the liaison with cruise lines. And you're talking typically minimum 2 years, 3 years to get on their itinerary, to get it sold, to make things happen. So there's a lead time, a lot of work to make those things happen. But cruise is certainly on and doable on the perimeter. And it's, I think, very well received by the majority of the population. The diagram you saw of the various phases had in the upper left-hand corner an additional phase, which maybe you could say was phase 4, but optimistically, if we put sheet piling in, back one couple more previous. Above the yellow block, one of the phases could be to put sheet piling up along that, I think I call it another tan layer there, right along the easterly side, and to have larger cruise ships sit alongside or ocean-going vessels. In order to make that happen, part of that is a dredge basin, so that you dredge down 10 meters at least below zero, low tide, so those vessels can sit there as the tide rises. They'd have to come in under partial tide or full tide, and then they could go up and down in this bathtub basin, so to speak.
And in this scenario there, you would be able to support cargo ships, maybe not the biggest of them all,
but ocean-going vessels, yes. And we've put that in there specifically a couple different reasons. We've had discussions on wood products, wood chips. Stateside is a bit of a rough ride right now, but historically, stateside and the large mill in Greenfield over that way. I've had discussions with people in the States and the people at Freeman Lumber at the same time online, and they're very interested. To them, it's, I forget now what we figured it was, 100 kilometers for them to bring chips here, load it, send it to Eastport, Maine. And it's all very attractive. It's just making sure the markets are there. So vessels coming in, barges, so on. We've also had inquiry from Dexter's when there was some wind farms being put in along the eastern seaboard. They put underneath those farms on the ocean floor fairly good-sized rocks called scour beds. I think it's just to keep erosion from happening, to do with the turbulence and turmoil of things in the water. And they were asking if they could load vessels here. Well, currently we don't have the depth. We don't have that infrastructure, but there are a few opportunities, I guess. So, and with the discussion on through the Houston government and possibility of mining, a lot of it would probably go to Shelburne if it did materialize, but some of the tracks are up in the Annapolis area, which could put us in proximity. There are opportunities. It's way down the line, but we would certainly be open to all the discussions that make that happen.
with the scenario that we're working with currently, what would be the timeline to get to that point where you can support cargo ships?
That's
Of course,
that's
all-
very optimistic. So phase, in my mind, and I'm a little bit conservative, I guess I would say, but I'd love phase 1 has to happen fairly soon. That gives a little bit of leeway, and a lot of things in my mind, the way it's governments and evolutions of governments and how they are in their cycles. You're probably talking 3 or 4 federal government cycles optimistically. So there you're talking 16 years. I'd be pleased if it happened in 16 years. So, I mean, that's just all speculation, but it's...
Yeah, I just get a sense of the order of magnitude.
George?
Does the wharf do anything with the hydroelectric people down on the islands, or they're doing the in-water generators and stuff?
We had part of, I guess I've been in with the port 10, 11 years, I think now, and there was quite a push back when Jeff Sunderland was there to aligning ourselves with tidal. To make that possible, a laydown area, something like you see in yellow there, would really be required. So I think it was alignment, hoping that industry took off. We have not had
Right
any.
now,
We haven't had any. I don't think any involvement. We had at one point some discussions about bringing portions of turbines or in and loading them off the wharf onto barges to take them elsewhere, but nothing has materialized. And that discussion earlier on wind power and so on. So there's a lot of things percolating in the background. It's just making sure that we are aligned to meet some of those demands.
Okay, Matthew.
I would ask you, the warden, where this is time sensitive.
I already have that.
Okay, I was going to just ask you if it would be
I was
okay
going
to
to say,
make
we
that
need.
motion.
I was going to ask to say that we need a motion for a letter of support tonight because of the time sensitivity.
I'd make the motion to give the Digby Port Authority a letter of support.
And it should be to the
Sustainable. Is that where we're starting?
Community
Community
Challenge.
Challenge Board.
Yep.
Okay, is there a seconder to that? Oh, Peter, I'm sorry. All in favor?
Right.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Normally we don't make these decisions on the same night. You are just batting 1,000.
It's
I'll go for a lottery ticket.
Put my name on half.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you for the presentation. It was actually a good update, and for the new ones, I think it helped explain a lot of stuff.
Yep.
Thank you.
You can stay too, Ed, if you want.
I'll see my family. Thank you for the offer.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good evening. Drive careful, everyone. The next. There. The next is the approval of the minutes of March 11th. Is there any errors or omissions anyone saw?
I will motion to approve the minutes of March 11th, 2025.
Is there a seconder? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. The next is the CAO report. The audit committee is on April the 15th at 5 p.m. and I have asked Deputy Warden Matthew to run that meeting, and I will be coming in by satellite. On April 22nd, we have council. On April the 24th at 4:30, we have a joint council meeting. On April the 29th, there is no meeting. On May the 6th at 5, we have Nova Scotia Public Works. At 6 p.m., we have bylaw and policy. And on May the 13th, we have committee of the whole. Any questions, concerns on any of that? The next was the CAO updates, the fire services review. There is no update as of now. The strategic planning document has been completed and will be presented to council in an upcoming meeting. The accessibility audits have been completed on our municipal office and airport, and we await receipt of those reports. On King's Transit, the CAO has a meeting with other CAOs on April the 10th. Then regular meetings were mentioned. Is there any questions on any of the CAO updates? Hearing or seeing none. The next was the department reports. You had your director of finance, your building department report, airport dispatch, renewable energy and climate change coordinator, and the trails coordinator. Is there any questions on any? Just wanted to remind you on this weekend at 9 o'clock in the morning is registration for the Lollygag Run at Van Tassel Lake. And at 2 o'clock, I'm going to say 1 o'clock, is the Ukrainian third annual activities. And that's at the Digby Legion. So again, all are invited to both events, especially if you want to run or walk. So if there are no questions or comments on those reports, could I have someone make a motion to accept them as presented?
I'll move the acceptance of the reports as presented.
And is there a seconder?
Seconded. Oh, go ahead, Joe.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. The next, there is nothing under dangerous and on-site lake. So under business, you got your Sustainable Communities Challenge Fund and Low Carbon Communities Program.
So there was a one-pager included in a package that Terry had drafted. So Terry had previously presented to council on these topics. So we can deal with these one at a time. So essentially the first one is on the solar park research. Terry's looking to apply for a FEED study, basically a feasibility study for the solar park, and for us to contribute up to $25,000 towards the cost of that study. And so we're looking for a motion to that effect on the solar park.
And remember, this gives us many dollars from the grant.
I make a motion to accept the feasibility study for solar park in our strategic plan.
And is there a seconder?
And can I get you to add to that and contribute up to $25,000?
Contribute up to $25,000.
And Joan seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. The next is the Traffic Safety Act engagement.
No, we still have to deal with the biogas generator on the.
Oh yes, on the low carbon. Sorry.
So again, Terry had presented to council on this topic. So essentially, it's a similar ask. We're looking to do a feasibility study on the biogas generator to see if it can be repurposed or sold. And he's again looking to apply for some funding and for us to pay up to $25,000 towards it. So I'd be looking for a motion to that effect.
Yes, Matthew.
So this is a different grant that he's looking for this one?
Yeah, they're two separate
they're
grants.
two
separate,
separate
okay.
grants.
Well, I would make a motion to approve I would make a motion to approve the strategic, or the letter of support for the strategic plan for the low carbon communities program, and up to $25,000 if we get the acceptance of the grant.
Yep. Is there a seconder?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. All right, now I get everything's covered on this one. Okay, next is the Traffic Safety Act engagement.
I asked to put that one in there because I think it's important that we get involved in that. I think when I'm reading it here, it's they just want us to send an email now,
Yeah.
and then we can look into it. 'Cause I mean, obviously, if they're asking, we need to be a part of it. There's a lot of safety concerns on our roads right now, so
That's an understatement.
I'd like to make a motion that
So,
we.
so at this point, you just staff direction.
Is that just okay?
Yeah, just
Cool.
staff direction.
That's great.
Honestly,
Yeah.
just for us to participate.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
We don't need a motion then.
Nope.
Okay.
I'll send an email.
The next is the J-class roads,
Yeah,
notice of
J-class roads.
acceptance.
So obviously, I found this well, good and bad news. So obviously, I'm quite happy that Pleasant Street is going to get done. I've sent this along to the CAO for Annapolis, Chris McNeil. As a reminder, Annapolis is the ones paying the $87.5, so this is no cost to us. And he was fine with that amount. So I'm just looking for a motion for us to submit the notice of acceptance. The disappointing news is the other two streets we included obviously did not get approved. So we had budgeted a great deal of money for J-class roads, and we're going to spend zero of it this year, which is unfortunate.
Do we get to apply again?
Oh, yeah. Next
Yeah,
year.
it's every October we apply,
Every
and like
year.
I've reached out to the MLA on this, and she actually did her best to get us the Pleasant Street funding, but obviously the funding is very limited. But we should all continue to push the province on. We're ready to spend money on these roads, so the province needs to step up and pay their half as well. So.
Yeah. Okay, so can we get a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the
Just
J-class roads.
Just met.
submit the notice.
Or submit probably J-class roads for $87,500.
And is there a seconder?
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. There was no correspondence or information items, so then we are going to the committee reports. And can we? Open my desk. Thank you. That's what I was getting nervous about. I was thinking, oh gosh, how am I going to do this? Okay. We're going to start off with the Digby Water Source Protection Advisory Committee.
They have not met yet.
Fences and Arbitration Committee. Peter.
No, it didn't.
Heritage Advisory Committee. Manzer and Joan.
We haven't had a meeting
Quarterly,
since-
they last met in January.
So you should be meeting now.
Should be one time.
Should be coming up soon.
All right. The Regional Emergency Management Advisory Committee.
Meeting Thursday.
That's right.
Is it next?
Yeah, it's Thursday.
Yes.
At 4:30. The Planning Advisory Committee. M. Ross, Snyder, Shear, and Joan.
They apparently meet quarterly too, but have not met since November of '24. So
Yeah, we should be having one soon.
All right. The next is the Joint RCMP Advisory Board quarterly.
We're meeting next week.
And yes, and just to say, we were invited to headquarters, and there was 4 acceptance that were going, but I thought I was back on the 21st. I don't arrive home till the 21st that night, so I've had to let him know I can't attend. We also have 2 new members. Tammy Fitzgerald has gone, and Allison Fazzello has now gone. Their terms are up. And our 2 new ones are Chris Thibodeau and Chris Tidd, right. And I think Chris is the other one that was going to go.
Mm-hmm.
The next is the Marketing, Levy, and Promotion.
they're supposed to meet quarterly. The next scheduled meeting is April 14th.
Okay. The Digby Art Bank Jury.
No, we met selected some 4 pieces of art, purchased them, and I don't know where they were in the room there. I'm not sure where they are.
Don't know. I looked again. Yeah, they were there. I saw
They
them.
were for a while anyway, for a few days or a week. They were.
Rob's dining room.
The little woodpecker one is still in that glass
Yeah,
can.
I like that.
Yeah, there are pictures.
Now, there will be a presentation, like they did
I
last
would
year,
think so. I think there would be a special.
but that's
Yeah.
not been decided yet. Okay. The Accessibility Advisory Committee, we are meeting next week, isn't it? Can't tell you anything more yet. The Highway 101 Task Force is still inactive, but we are actually working, trying to see something happen. When we met with our MP, it was brought forward, and our concerns, I know our concerns have been brought up to our MLA.
Brought up today with the Liberal nominee, and he's very well aware of it too. Since he remembers being on the Highway 101 Task Force. So
Yes, he was. Okay, the next is the Digby Community Nova Scotia Health Authority stakeholders as needed, and that has never met in the last few years, and I am trying to find, it was Ben who was chair. Ben is gone, and nobody can seem to tell me who I should be talking to.
I thought it was always run by the Health Foundation.
It wasn't, no, Health, they were
Maybe
just.
that was part of the MLA. Gordon and Ben were on it.
Yeah, and the Health Foundation is on it, and so was, but
It's
they're,
disbanded.
it's not disbanded. We just can't figure out what's going on.
Okay.
And maybe that's what I need to do is talk to Linda. She can help me because it's the staff we need to talk to and see if our old site manager at the hospital is a new site rep who doesn't know any of this.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But because I really think they need to meet. There is concerns.
Oh, yes. Yep.
The next is the Digby and Area Housing Working Committee. Councillor Ross.
They meet again on April 16th.
Okay. The next is the Atlantic Mayors Congress. They were supposed to be having a spring meeting. I have not heard anything except it's in St. John, and we're still waiting. We haven't had a meeting in a year. The next one is the Digby Area Recreation.
Well, we've been working on our capital, and as everybody knows, the rink was shut down because of the compressor outside. But there has been an email sent out. The province is going to be coming down Friday, making an announcement. So I don't know, but we'll see what happens.
Make a nice announcement.
They're going to make a nice announcement.
Hopefully.
Also, as far as the rink's going, I mean, it is open. They are planning to have a business expo between June 7th and 8th. Also, ball hockey is going to be open. They've already got 60 kids signed up, and they've got some adult teams going. So there is a lot of stuff going on recreation and with the rink. It's just we're working as a group to get things ready for September, and that's the goal. So, if you want to add anything, Warden?
No, I think you covered it.
Pool's okay for this year? No big.
The swimming pool is not down.
No big leaks.
Yeah.
Okay. The next is the Digby Library Committee. Oh, I missed one, but I'll go back to it.
Digby hadn't.
Any idea when?
No.
Oh, okay.
I guess I don't know. Like never been on before, so I don't know if they have them once a year, twice a year, when needed.
Actually, it's usually twice a year. That should be already. There should be a meeting.
Should be one soon.
I'll get our CAO to check into that.
Okay. There haven't been any.
The next is the Digby Development Agency, known as the Industrial Commission.
We don't have a meeting. Our meeting is June. Yes,
It's June 4th. No news since last time.
Okay. The Digby Municipal Fire Association. As you all know, we have our coordinator and we are working on budget. Our next meeting isn't until, I don't want to,
Which one?
our next Fire Association
Or
meeting.
it's mid-May. It's not scheduled yet. It should be around.
It's every,
second week of May, third week of May.
so that's coming. The next is the King Transit Authority. The last meeting was, not a lot had happened at that meeting for us. But since then, we have some concerns at our CAO, of course, is meeting. And then we have a meeting on the third Wednesday of the month, so next week. And I will be there with my concerns as well.
Any reply off on the email to Tylerson?
There have been no replies,
No.
but we have a meeting in a day, so.
And then I will be bringing up what. And you're going up to that meeting too, are you?
I am, yes.
Yeah, so we're going to go up to both meetings, or he's going to both, I'll be going to one. The next is Tideview Terrace.
Life as usual. No big. We had a meeting the end of March. There wasn't any talk about any outbreaks in any of the houses. So,
Waste check. We actually had a meeting today, and first of all, because of the tariffs, we're looking at ordering our cards through Quebec. We've usually gone through the States because of finances, but with everything happening, we don't know what's going to happen. Again, then our other concern was the ERP, I mean. What has happened, they suddenly do not want us to pick up from small local businesses or from
It was basically the blue bags,
Yeah.
not the little independent
from the independents. I
Ones.
guess that's the easiest way.
that we get now with regular.
So what happened was we sent a letter or through the regional chairs, and now Waste Check is going to be sending a letter, which I'll be sending through. And it was brought up that maybe we should be going to councils and asking councils to send a letter as well, because if we don't deal with this before a contract's signed by the province, it isn't going to get dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to have a bigger mess.
Oh, but they won't recycle.
Well,
They'll just throw it to the curb.
that is the concern. That's a big concern. Yeah. And we've always picked up from these people. Yeah. And I'm just trying to quickly.
Part of that issue too was they wanted that blue bags from ICI segregated.
Yeah.
From.
Oh yeah, they don't want them on the same
the
floor.
regular collection, and then it becomes a space issue of.
Which impacts our transfer station as well.
Oh yeah.
So are you saying, what would the letter contain?
I'm just trying to get the letter.
Because there's a few issues, because one, we're still negotiating just cost in general. There's an insurance issue. Circular materials is requiring municipalities to have certain insurance in place, so that's been an issue. And now there's this third issue. So would the letter just be specific to?
It will be to all. Just a minute. I'm just trying to find my letter. Because this was just brought up today to bring it here. Oh, Andrea.
Oh, what was the alternative suggestion then? businesses
no
do with their
alternative.
blue bags? Just keep them inside?
No, they wanted us to do it separately. And we had said
It would create a lot of work on
it
our
would
end. So
be
we'd
a
have to keep it
horrible whack of work. Oh, great, I don't see my letter. They didn't send up that letter today.
I didn't see it before
I
I
didn't
left.
either.
No.
And that's what I'm quickly looking for. Oh, just a minute now. I apologize because, like I said, I didn't have a chance to deal with anything. Oh, yeah.
Did they mention whether it was time sensitive or could it wait until April 22nd?
It's actually time sensitive. That's why I'm trying to find this.
I guess I don't understand that they want us to separate. So they basically would want Greg comes behind, does the blue bags. You would have to store them.
Well, if we pick them up from a little business, they don't want them picked up on the same truck. And then when they came in, they don't want them on the floor with the other bags.
Because they have to be able to track it separately.
They want to track, and we're saying that we can still track it.
That's what we do now, isn't it?
Right.
So
But they're not used to coming in to people that's already been doing stuff for 25 years. Can you give me a minute? We'll go out to my office. I think I have a copy of that letter because I keep copies.
yeah, that poses a big problem because how do you know? When you have houses with small businesses in there, how do you separate it from the residential? And why doesn't the residential get on? Like, it really doesn't make any sense.
We thought it would be simply like we get a check every year that covers a bunch of recycling costs, and it's turned out to be a little more complicated than that, unfortunately.
And it becomes an issue at transfer stations too, because you need more space if you're going to start.
And none of this was brought up in the last 8 years of Pierre talk. It's just all of a sudden a big issue, but it shouldn't have been.
And it's an issue everywhere. Like the CAO listservs have been lit up about EPR issues for the last month.
Mm.
It's circular materials. That's now the issue.
There had to be something, you can't get free money. There's no way to get free money.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an issue.
Recess.
Yes, I'll motion to recess. We have to turn. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, so I will distribute the letter that was sent on March 25th to the Honorable Tim Hellman on about our concerns with negotiation of small business and non-residential sources and operational flexibility.
Make a motion to approve.
Is there a seconder? Okay,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. All right. I will get that sent. The next one is Western Counties Regional Library.
We had a meeting a couple of weeks ago. They're still waiting for a revise or to see if they're going to get any increase in funding. And just kind of waiting on that to see what they can do from staffing and employees, wages.
Anything else? Okay. Any questions? The next then is the Western Regional Enterprise Network Liaison and Oversight Committee.
Yes, we met last week. Chair that one. We met at lunchtime to discuss current board members and vacant spots. I was asked to speak with a few business owners in the community to see if they would like to apply and join the board, and we will meet again next month.
All right. The next is the Digby Area Tourism Association.
April 3rd, they presented to the public their 5-year tourism growth strategy. They're going ahead promoting the 10 wonders of Digby, which are whale watching, Maud Lewis, Scallop Capital of the World, Nature Conservancy of Canada down on Briar Island, Bear River, the village on stilts, Balancing Rock, lighthouses, Electric City, historic vineyards, and Digby Gut. They'll be working to further this growth strategy over the next 5 years and looking for people to kind of champion one of the wonders in their area and help promote and move it forward. And these are the brochures they were given out when they were doing their tours down in the States and that, and it has, brief descriptions of each of the wonders and that on it. Their next meeting is their annual general meeting, which is April 16th.
Great. Any questions, comments?
That was a good meeting. That was good.
It was.
Yeah.
A lot of work went into it. Well thought out, well planned.
Being on the committee for 6 months, it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, and everyone participated. It was well listened to. Yes, at that meeting, I did not see my deputy warden or my other counselor there. And I said, I guess, and then they said, we're here. So I introduced them because I had only saw 2 of the town councilors, and then there was 4 of them. It was like, oh gosh, anything else, Linda, you can screw up on.
The beauties of the 10 wonders is there's really probably something there that each of us in our own area can get behind and promote. So it will be an interesting. The idea is to get people here for conferences and that kind of thing, and keep them here a little longer by giving them places to go and things to do and see.
All right. And the next is the Digby Harbor Port Association.
Pretty much Ed stole the show on that one. I don't have to report much on it. He did a fine presentation.
And the next is the Soda Biosphere Society. Our next meeting is not for another 6 weeks. This is the last meeting I discussed. The Western Regional Crown Land Stakeholder Interaction Committee. Peter. All right. Is there any questions or comments anyone wants to make on any of the things we discussed? All right then. There's no in camera, so could we have adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a seconder?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded. Motion carried.